Hello there, my mate Vince here, and in this video today we're going to be trying to fix up this Raspberry Pi 4. So this was sent in by Liam. You might remember Liam because he sent over the Steam links whenever that was, 6 months ago, a year ago, not too sure. And it says, "Hi Vince, me again with more broken stuff. As promised, there are two Pis in here. One is a Pi 3 with no SD slot, and the other is a Pi 4 that I managed to short. I believe I provided too much voltage to pin 1. There is a chip that gets very hot when supplied with power. Good luck with these. I'd love to see them restored." He's also very kindly gave me a whole list here, a whole load of items here to do with 3D printing. Unfortunately for me, I still don't know anything about 3D printing because I still haven't got round, this is terrible, to unboxing. Check out all this stuff. Unboxing my Ender Pro, what is it, 2 or 3? 1 second. Ender 3 Pro, it's still in its box. They could have sent me a box of bricks for all I know. The problem I've got at the moment is still lack of time to learn it and also lack of space. I kind of need a dedicated table for it. And at the moment, the room I'm in is just full of boxes everywhere. So yeah, I need to get my backside in gear and get that sorted. But yeah, I will do some stage shortly. Hopefully he's also giving me a board here. Amazing. Thanks for that, Liam. Right, anyway, back to the Raspberry Pis. So I've already had a quick look at these, and one certainly has got the SD card completely removed from it. So with these, you need to have the SD card to boot them up. I know nothing about Pis, but you do need to have the SD card to boot them up because I checked online and it's missing here. Annoyingly, I've done an eBay special. I could have bought them from DigiKey, but then I had to pay, I think it was £12 postage plus the VAT on that. So it ends up being £2.40 on top of that. So £14.40 to post something that big. But there was an opportunity to buy them from eBay and it said from London. And I'm near London. The problem is, it was a Chinese seller, and this is happening more and more, where it says London, but it's not coming from London, it's coming from China. And when you look at the feedbacks, you see it takes weeks to arrive. So, but anyway, I knew that was the case, but I bought them anyway, prepared to wait a couple of weeks, because I've also bought some chips from AliExpress for this one here. And then, yeah, basically about 2 weeks went by, or a week and a half went by, and they hadn't even been dispatched. I messaged them to say, "Can you let me know when these are dispatched or any tracking number?" To which they replied, "Must have got lost in transit. Do you want a refund?" Which is just so irritating because they haven't even attempted to post them. And now the listing's been taken down. Not a problem. I know sometimes people sell stuff they haven't got, drop shipping and all the rest of it. But just let me know after a day or two that you haven't got it in stock. And then I can just buy from DigiKey. Anyway, 2 weeks down the line, the AliExpress ones have arrived, but yet these ones haven't arrived because I've now ordered them from DigiKey. So they're going to arrive hopefully UPS in a few days. So this one has a missing SD card slot. This is the 3, but also I noticed that there's a capacitor that I've just sellotaped on here that was just barely hanging on. So yeah, not quite sure what's happened here. That might have got damaged in transit or maybe storage. But this one here is the Raspberry Pi 4. And this one has got a chip here which is getting red hot. So I think Liam said that he normally powers it with 5 volts, but it was dropping out or something, and it was an adjustable power supply. He turned the knob and then basically it shoved way more than 5 volts in. And now when I power this with the USB-C here, this one here is micro USB, but this is USB-C on a 4. Basically this chip here gets red hot, and I'll show you that on the thermal cam. Also, it says here, also, just in case this letter makes it into a vid, I've included a pic of my cat, Wanda. And isn't Wanda lovely? Look at that. I am a fan of cats, but unfortunately my son and wife are allergic to the fur, but there's always been a cat in my life. I think they're good for your soul. Anyway, let's show you this thing here. The reason I looked at this before is because Lee knew it was going to be a chip problem, and he asked me to, you know, if it was possible to replace. And so that's why I've done it before the video, so I could have the chip for the video. Right, check this out now. So the flare cam's on here, plug it in. You'll see it will heat up really quick. Look, can you see it glowing away there? Isn't that amazing? Perfect job here for a thermal cam. And if I touch it with this thing here, you see the middle of it is right here, and that there is that chip. You think it might be the capacitor, but it's not, it's the actual chip itself. Now maybe it's taken out other stuff as well. It might not be just that chip, but I think we have to do that chip to begin with and then see what's what. So it's DA9121. So let's take these chips out, see what they look like. Right, so if I turn that over nice and gently, there you go. You can see all the BGA balls on it. It's super small, and that's what's so hard. If two of those short together, it's not going to work. Yes, it's going to be very hard. I won't be able to like give it a little nudge test or anything. I'm just got to apply heat and hope that it's hope that all the balls solder, because I'm not prepared to give that a nudge, because one nudge and I'm just going to join like 3 or 4 balls together. So that's not good. Now Liam's fully aware that there's a very good possibility that I'm not going to be able to fix this, and that there's a very good possibility I might even make it worse. But the thing is, it's not working at the moment anyway. So I'm going to remove this, and then I'm going to try to clean up the board with a little bit of solder wick, and then we can just apply the new one on, because the balls are already there. Right, I would love to show you this chip being changed over in real time, but so far looking at this edited up video, it's 1 hour 42 minutes long. So I'm having to go through it and cut out bits that I can cut out without ruining the journey of this trying to fix saga. It's that long. So yeah, this is me just changing the chip out. Problem with this is it's so super small that I don't really know if it's soldered on properly or not, because I can't give it a little nudge test, because one nudge, like I just mentioned, could end up shorting many of the melted balls underneath. So I'm testing the other capacitors around it, and when they're able to move, then hopefully it means that underneath the chip has soldered as well. As well as that, we can look at it at the end under the microscope to see if the balls look like they're flat and soldered. So I'm very happy with them. The right hand side looks a little bit more squished than the left hand side, but they're all squished yet not shorted. Right, I think it is going to work. Let's test it. Here goes. No, it's we've only got the red light now. We had the red and green before, didn't we? What? Unless it's supposed to just have the red light. That is a possibility. But before we had red and green, which seems to make more sense. But remember, there's no operating system on this. Let's see what voltage we've got on these ones up here. Oh no, look, it's flashing. It's not working. I don't believe it. Oh no, and it's got nothing to do with me squishing it, because I didn't press down on that chip. It's doing the same thing as before, but yet it's not drawing anything. Let's see what voltages we have on these things here. So we've got the 4.4 volts there. I presume that's supposed to be 5 volts. Oh, we've got 5 volts there. But I'll do a little bit of research just to see what lights should be on it. You know, I'm not sure if I need to be worried here or not, because there's it does mean things like long flash, short flash. It means all different things. Yeah, this is on a website called Pie My Life Up. How good is that? Anyway, what a great name for a website. Anyway, look at this. When you first of all plug it in, it's not flashing like crazy. Yeah. So I think it's only when it's been in a while that it starts doing it. So maybe that's normal. Maybe it's just looking for the SD card in here. So I don't think I need to panic yet. I think what I need to do is I think I need to learn a bit about these and try to get the operating system onto the SD card and see if we can display anything, maybe via micro USB on my TV. I'm just downloading the software from the Raspberry Pi website. I think it's about 1 GB or something for the operating system. Okay, I've got my keyboard, wireless keyboard connected here. I've got micro HDMI in, it's connected to HDMI 2, which is correct. And I've got my operating system on the SD card here. Let's see if it's going to work. I am going to say no, I don't think it will. Right, we're in. Are you going to display anything? No, you're not. It'd be so much easier if I had a working one, because then I would know what all the lights and stuff mean. But there's nothing happening there. Now, is it the chip that I did? Or did the over voltage kill something else as well? Just checking on the other HDMI just in case I've forgotten where it goes at the back. Well, how annoying is that? Do you know what? I had a feeling it wasn't going to work. It's not getting warm though. I don't know whether to just change the chip over again because it was behaving weird, wasn't it, when we first of all plugged it in? Or has something else gone on it? I just don't know. I'm wondering if I should buy one. I wouldn't mind one for myself. I wouldn't mind messing around with them. Leave it with me. I'll have a think. Well, I can't see anything obviously wrong anywhere. So I am going to put this chip on just in case the chip that I got is faulty, or just in case the BGA underneath it, the balls, are not happy and something's shorted somewhere. Remember, it was giving weird things when I first all turned it on. It was like flashing green and then it's, you know what I mean? It was acting like it did to begin with. So yeah, I'm going to take the chip off and then do this one here. But I'm now wondering whether or not there's something else wrong as well. I'm going to keep this chip because maybe it's perfect. Maybe there's something else gone. So while we're swapping out the second chip, probably pointless, but I have got a spare one. Might as well pop it in and then you never know, it might start working, then I don't have to stress my head over it. While we're doing that, I'll shout out the My Mate Vince Massive. The members this month are kitdigital.com, Kip Hakes, Max Rokotansky, Chris Seal, Felipe at MrKeeves.com, DJ VG, Pixie, Anthony Dean, Bazza2, Russ Melanson, Gaspar Heller, Rickard Bergland, Soul Reaver 555, the My Mate Vince Fan Club, Shamsa Al Sawadi, and Stuart Park. Massive thank you to each and every one of you. Now let's see if this other chip has made any difference. Okay, I'm going to let it cool down and then we'll plug the SD card in and see this time, fingers crossed, if it's going to work. Right, here we go. Let's see if it's going to act any differently. Let's turn it on. Come on. Right, we've got that weird green thing. That might be a good thing. So this is what it was doing when I first put the chip on before, but we've still got no display. And I think we should have a display by now. Also, it's not drawing much. Oh, what a shame. I don't think I can take this any further unless I have another one to compare. It's interesting that it's a solid green but it's flickering like that, which I think it was doing before. Okay, so what I've done is I've ordered up a second-hand but fully working, it said, Raspberry Pi 4 2GB model on eBay for, I think it was £39 with free postage. This one here is the 8GB model, so obviously this is going to be expensive. I think it comes in 1, 2, 4 and 8. So, but I'm thinking, apart from the chip here, I'm thinking that the readings are going to be similar. So right now I don't know what's going on here, do I? I don't know what the green light should be doing or the red light should be doing. So I'm kind of, for me, it's very hard to fault find. I can get diode readings around the place, but they don't mean anything because I haven't got a working one to work next to. Also, this one here is different. You know, the chip that I got from AliExpress is not on this one, so I'm going to have different readings. So I think for the purpose of the video, it's well worth spending £39. Even if I break the next one trying to fix this one, I think it's still worth it in the attempt of trying to find out what's wrong with this, because Liam isn't going to be the only one to over voltage his one here. Already, if you look online, other people have mentioned it. There doesn't seem to really be a solution. So if it's a case of changing this chip over and then one other chip or one other transistor or cap or resistor or something, fantastic. So when the new one arrives, I'm going to be putting the red probe to ground, and on diode test, I'm going to be moving around every single part of the board and comparing it to the known working one, and then I can understand what's going on. Now, until that point, what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to use some low melt solder. Obviously I've ordered these ones up from DigiKey, but I'm going to use some low melt solder to see if I can remove this one and then put it onto this one here. Also put the capacitor back on here, and let's see if we can get the Pi 3 working, because then I might understand a bit more about it. For example, when I put the SD card in, hopefully this one will work, and then yeah, because it's going to take quite a few days for all those things to arrive from eBay and DigiKey and stuff. So that's what I'm going to do in the meantime. I hope I don't muck this one up, but if I do, it's not a problem because I've ordered up a few of them from DigiKey and I can put the new one on. See, this here is the perfect job for low melt solder, because if I had to try to take it off with normal solder, then it's just going to keep solidifying by the time I've moved on to the next pin. If I try to take it off with hot air, there's a good chance I'm going to melt the plastic. Even if I heat up the board from underneath, there's still a good chance of melting the plastic on the SD card slot, and then you're going to struggle to get the micro SD card in. So low melt solder here is a complete winner. Okay, so I've soldered that capacitor back on there now, and I've done this here. I think it looks okay. It's a lot more blobby than it would have been originally. Let's see, is this going to fit in, or will the blobs get in the way? No, it does fit in. Well, let's plug it in and see what it does. I hope it's clean. I've tried to put loads of IPA in there, but it's hard to know if there's any flux left in this area here. Anyway, I presume once you put the card in, it's going to kind of stay in anyway forever. Alright, so I've got this all connected up. This is a standard HDMI and I'm on a correct channel here. Is this going to give me more luck? Here goes. Red flashing, here we go. Result. 720p, 60 Hz. So red light's not on, green light's flashing. Fantastic. Welcome to the Raspberry Pi desktop. Result, and it seems to be doing something down here. Right, let me load it up. Well, actually, I'll leave it now. I'll mess around with this. I'll get to understand a little bit about Raspberry Pi, and then when the other parts arrive and the other Pi arrives, I can then start looking into maybe what's wrong with that Raspberry Pi 4. So I've been messing around with it, and the operating system does work quick. So for example, if I go top left here, left click, go down to preferences, that's all nice and quick. Go down to configuration, it's quick. But now look, when I click on that, it says loading, and you'd expect it to be there now. But yet you've still got to wait, and then it comes up. So it's not quite as quick as I thought it would be. Also, when I try to watch YouTube videos via this particular browser here, I can watch them in 480p, but 720p just keeps on lagging and skipping, so it's unusable. I guess what it's for is STEM projects. You know, if you want to put it on a car with a sensor on the front to detect a wall and then reverse away from that so it doesn't hit into anything, then that's what this is going to be for, amongst loads of other things. Watching YouTube videos in 1080p on a TV might be asking a bit much of it, or maybe it's just the browser I'm using, or I'm not sure because I'm not a Raspberry Pi guy. But I like the fact that it's so small, and I love the fact that it's got all those pins that you can do various different things with. I mean, that makes it a complete winner, and that's, I suppose, why it's so popular, because it would be great if your kids were into this, because imagine the amount of projects they could do, which is just amazing. Anyway, this Raspberry Pi 3, in my opinion, appears to be working. I believe these ones only have 1 GB of RAM, so maybe that's why it struggles a little bit on stuff like YouTube. But anyway, it's not a review video, it's a fix-it video, and this one appears to be working fine, so that's good. I am now going to wait until the SD card things arrive for the Raspberry Pi 4, and also the working Raspberry Pi 4 to arrive, and then I can hopefully get readings between both of them and figure out maybe what's wrong. So I'll see you in a couple of seconds, but for me, it'll be a few days. Right, it must be about 2 or 3 weeks later now, but I have got another working Raspberry Pi 4. Interestingly, when I put the SD card in, that's in the Raspberry Pi 3, it doesn't come up with anything apart from different colours on the screen. Yet if I don't have anything plugged in, the SD card wise, when I plug it in, it does come up with a load of data, and it says Raspberry Pi in the top left hand corner. So this one should display even without a card. Now, I have bought 5 of these. I can't remember how much I paid. These weren't expensive, but unfortunately the postage is expensive because you have to spend over a certain amount of money when you deal with DigiKey. So I probably paid 20 something pounds for these 5, but the items themselves I don't think would have been much, maybe £1 each or something, I can't remember. But anyway, I need to solder one of them into here, but before I do that, I need to find out why this one isn't working. Now, let me plug in the amp meter into here to show you what it should be drawing, because this one is working, and then I can show you the difference between here and here. And then what we can do is we can put our meter into diode test, and we can go across everything. Hopefully it should show something that's different. So we can have a look at the amp drawer and also the coloured lights here to see what they should do. So we've got 2 lights on and it's drawing 0.36. Let's see if anything's going to change. But we've definitely got 2 lights on. Right, it's gone up now to 0.42. Give it a few more seconds, see if it changes. Right, so as far as I can see, there's no blinking or anything going on, because I suppose it's not reading the SD card because there isn't anything in here. But there we go, 0.42. Yeah. So when we plug in this one, we have the 2 lights on, but it's only 0.1. So before it was 0.36, wasn't it? And then it went up to 0.42. So obviously whatever process is being done, it's not going as far on this one. In fact, even from the very beginning, this was 0.36. What is this, 0.1? So there's something not quite right. And that's why it's not displaying. Okay. Let's go on to diode test, because I can see that there's a load of test points on the bottom of these. Let me zoom in. If you have a look here, can you see test points? Let's do it this way around. Look at them, there's loads, 34, 26, 27. So I'm going to go across all the test points. They're all over the place. And I'm going to see, test point 2, I'm going to see what we have. I wonder, is there any on this side here? No, it looks like they're mostly the other side. Well, it looks like they're all the other side. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go across all the test points between the boards and see if we have a difference in diode test. So with diode test, we're going to be putting our meter into diode mode, this one here, and we're going to be putting the red lead to a ground. So for example, if I was to use the USB port here, and then if I was to go on to test point 27 here, you can see it's 1.16. This is the 40 board, yeah, the one with the missing thingy here. So if I was to go across these two here, we've got 1.16 and 1.15, and if I do the same on this one here, 1.15 and 1.15. So there's no difference. I don't care if it's a tiny bit different. So yeah, I'm just going to go across everything. We found something that's different. Right, okay. So test point 14 is on the working board 0.12. And on the faulty board, test point 14, is 0.06. That's completely different. Right, I'm just going to go across the others. Is there any more? That's all the test points done, I think. Right, yeah, so it's just this one, test point 14. And look, it's near the USB-C port. So let's zoom in and see what's going on here, see if we can find something that's wrong. So, test point 14 is this big pad here. So it looks like there's nothing on this side, it's through the board. So let's have a look at the other side. We are, 1 second now, test point 14, so it's above the hole, 2 vias and then like an L shape. So above the hole, 2 vias, L shape, so it's this capacitor here, it's this thing here. Right, let's see, first of all, have we got some weird short on the capacitor? No, we haven't. Let's just make sure we've got a diode, that diode test is coming through to here. So let's zoom out. So I presume, because it's near the power, this is also to do with the higher voltage that was put into it. So we're going to go this side of the capacitor. It's 0.06, and on the working one is 0.12. Let's zoom in and see where it goes to. Right, so it goes to there. That's going to be some kind of inductor. Ah, it goes to this chip. I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's take off the inductor, and then we know for 100% if that diode test is coming from the chip, just in case somehow, because it's going through the inductor and that capacitor there, and it does go off somewhere else as well, in case there's another line on the other side because it's all connected which is dragging it down or something. So let's take off the inductor and then we'll know whether that chip is faulty or not. Okay, let's see what it's reading. So now, into the chip. Oh, it's different. Outwards. Oh, now what does that tell me? I'm going to have to take the inductor off the working board, aren't I? I don't want to break this one because it's working, but if I do end up breaking it, it's £39. For me, again, it's worth it for the video and to fix this one, because if I can show what the problem is, maybe other people have done the same thing. And if it turns out that somehow it's blown some chip over this side because it's linked through a wire on another side that goes over here or some component, then it'd be worth it, because then other people can end up fixing theirs and I get a working video, you know. Right, let's take off this one here. Right, so bottom pad on the 40 board is 0.05. Remember, this is still warm here, so it might be a different reading. No, 0.1. That's interesting. What's it here? The top one is 0.38. Excellent. So going into the chip, they're near enough the same. I'll let that cool for a bit. So the fault is going away. Now that's not so good, because unless it's the capacitor, then it's obviously, oh, I hope it's not going to end up being the main CPU, because it goes to a wire on the other side. We need to look really closely and see what's going on. But look, the fault's not going into the chip, because that reading's the same, 0.41 and dropping. Yeah, look at that, it's the same. Result. Brilliant, right, okay. So it's not a fault going into the chip, it's going away. That's really interesting. 0.05, 0.11. Okay, let's see where that goes to. Let's zoom right in. I would have thought that would have been the chip, you know. So what have we got here? That goes to, it doesn't go anywhere else, does it? No, so it's only here that it goes to, nowhere else. Doesn't go anywhere else. Right, let's flip the board over and see what's happening here. What I'm worried about is, where does that wire go to? Let's zoom out and I'll just move around the place and see if it beeps, you know, in case it comes up here, for example, or somewhere else. It might be obvious. I've got a feeling it's going to be coming underneath here somewhere. I bet it's up here somewhere. I bet you it's blown the CPU. Right now. Here. It's going there. Interesting. Right, let's just double check that on the good board. Make sure that is going there on that one as well. I love chasing faults like this. Excellent, that's a full-on short, because if I put my leads together, you can see that's under 1 ohm, that's a full-on short. Right, so you go there. Right, let's zoom in and see where that goes to. Might go to other places on the board as well. So I presume this is the memory, isn't it? This is the memory. So Liam's one is the expensive one, which is 8 GB, while my one is 2 GB, because I just went for the cheapest one. But now I'm wondering whether or not, because the chips are different here, then you are going to get a different reading. Oh, I don't know now. So basically all the test points are measuring the same, apart from the one that feeds the RAM chip, and the RAM chip is the only thing that's different between the two boards. So I think we can safely say that the diode test is probably going to be different on all the different models with the different RAM, be that 2, 4 or 8. So I think we're chasing something which isn't faulty there. So let's pop on the inductor and stuff back on. Let's see what voltage readings we can get around the chip that we initially changed over, because that was the chip that was definitely getting hot, just to make sure we got the same voltages between the boards. Let's look around the chip. This is the working eBay board. 5 volts. Ground. Ground. 0.1 volt. Why is that all over the place? Whoops. Oh no, oh no, oh no, I know. I slipped on my leads. I hope I haven't just blown that chip now. Oh no. I've just blown it. I've just blown it, as simple as that. I slipped from here. And I slipped, I think. Hold on, what did I slip onto? What did I slip onto there? Remember, this is, or should I say was, the working one. Yeah, I've messed up. It's drawing way too high. That's getting red hot. I can't believe I've just blown that chip. I'm going to watch back the video, see what I did. I can't believe that. Right, check this out on the slow-mo replay. My probe is on that side of the capacitor. Watch this, it just slips 1mm to the right-hand side of the inductor now. And it's shorted between the right-hand side of the inductor and that bottom bit of the capacitor, and that's it. That's enough to blow it, because you see, I presume the inductor is at a lot higher voltage, and it put higher voltage into that side of the capacitor, which has gone on to feed some chip somewhere, which has now put higher voltage into the chip, and it's blown it. It shows you how quick it happens. A split second, a split little twitch on the probe just by 1mm is enough to now render this useless, just like the other one. What a shame. Right, this is all I did. All I did was slip from here to there. From here to there. And this was already low voltage. Ah, I bet you this here. Hold on, let's see where that goes to. I bet that is a 5 volt. I'll zoom right in. See, that's the problem. People say you should always measure voltage, but when you're dealing with components so small, then you see early on in diode tests, I did no harm because it wasn't powered. But there now, all I did was slip. And look at the size of my finger. Yeah, all I did was slip from here to here, and that was enough now to blow. Because I presume, yeah, that's what I've done. I bet you this is going to be like 5 volts or something, and this was, what was it, 0.1 off a volt. I can't remember what it was. And because I've now put 5 volts or whatever this is here into here, haven't I? Which has gone into here and fried this chip again. How annoying is that? Oh man. Let's go on to the faulty one, but it's not quite as faulty as this, and let's carefully see what the voltage should be on that one there. I'm not sure whether I'm going to take this any further or not, if I'm honest with you, because the fact that the boards are different, I don't think I can prove the fault anyway. Right, let's just see what the voltage should have been on that inductor. So we're going to go carefully. Well, I can go on this side, can't I? 0.8 of a volt. .8 of a volt. So what is this one here? 5. Oh, I've put 5 volts then. But why wasn't it 5 volts on the other one? It wasn't measuring 5 volts on the working one, was it? And I was on it good. So I've put 5 volts into, let's go here very carefully. I'm confused now. Into 0.8. Why wasn't that measuring 5 volts? So does that suggest that I've mucked up? But this chip isn't getting warm. Tell you what, let's kill power. Let's do a diode reading. Let's go onto here. That's 0.42 and 0.42, and yet this side is 0.09. So would that be 0.09? Yeah. Now what is it here? Not that different. 0.4, 0.4, ground. Ah, okay, ground. Hold on, is this ground here? Ah, yeah, this is ground. Okay. So yeah, the chip's now shorted to ground. Can you see that? because both sides here are ground. So if I was to go to continuity and go on to here, for example, if you have a listen to this cap now, ground and ground. But it's not going to be the cap because I can feel the chip getting warm, it's the chip. So I shorted it here, which goes through here into here. That goes through there into there. And this is 5 volts here. So I put 5 volts into that part of the chip there. Right, let's take the chip off. So I'm taking the chip off that I've definitely fried, and I'm putting on the AliExpress one, but I'm not going to be able to reball it because these balls are absolutely tiny. So I'm just adding solder onto the board to kind of do half balls on the actual Pi board, and then I'm doing half balls on the actual chip, and then between that I'm hoping the 2 lots of half balls with just a soldering iron will make up one ball. It's not ideal, but it is what it is. And then we'll turn it on to see if it's acting any differently. Let's see. I bet it's going to be exactly the same. I bet it's going to be reading 0.1 amps. Ready? Come on. You're so annoying. It's the same fault as before. Well, if this is painful for you to watch, think about how I feel. This is my 3rd day working on this, and now I have to edit this all up. So basically, after all this work, I've ended up somehow in the same position I was in before I bought the working board from eBay. I've managed to mimic the exact same fault, which is infuriating because I bought the working board in order to try to compare it to the faulty board. But annoyingly, apart from the fact that the diode reading was different going into the RAM, which you're going to expect because they're different chips, they're all testing exactly the same. It's the same diode readings everywhere, but clearly it's not working. And it's just a super complicated thing. Just because it's cheap and small, it doesn't mean it's easy. It is a mini computer after all, and I don't know what's wrong with this. So really, I've kind of given up. So I do continue to do a little bit of work on this off camera. Really, I've given up as far as the filming of the video is concerned, but I do discover this, which I think is quite interesting. So let me show you this little bit after I've done a little bit of work off camera. Right, this is interesting. So basically, I think we've proved that I've blown the CPU. So I don't think that Liam's one was actually fixable anyway. And let me tell you why. So with this chip here, it looks like there's kind of 2 inputs into it and 2 outputs. But when it comes to the outputs, they're both going via the inductors to the same pad. So I don't know whether that would just increase the amps, because it looks like the chip's capable of doing 2 separate outputs, but in this one they're both connected because both of the inductors are joined on the output, yeah? So they're both inductors are joined together. And I think it's a multi-layer board because it looks like it just goes to a load of vias here, and the vias here just look like they go to test point 15. So I could be wrong, but I think test point 15, this one here, might be the voltage for the CPU, because look, we know that I shorted between the capacitor and the inductor. So 100% I put 5 volts into a line which should be about 1 volt or 0.9 volts or something. And if we go here, this is where I've shorted, but the other side of the inductors, look where it comes up. Underneath the CPU. And that's a full short. You can see there, that's a full, that's under 1 ohm. Yep, so that's the same as that. I think that the 5 volts has gone into the CPU and blown it. Yeah. So I think that's what's happened. But look, you know, as long as we know, I don't think now that Liam's was actually fixable. I think because that chip failed, that it put a short on. Remember, the chip was getting roasting hot. The chip here was getting roasting hot after I shorted it. I think it's put 5 volts into here. That's what I think's happened. Do you know what I'm going to do? For the fun of it, I'm going to get my bench power supply, I'm going to turn it on, I'm going to put it to 1 volt, and I'm going to power it from here and the bench power supply. Let's see if then these lights come alive. Right now, let's get this set up here. HDMI 1, I think I'm on the correct source. Right, are you going to display anything? no. I suppose it was a bit of a long shot. I suppose there has to be numerous enable pins in this, that and the other. I'll leave it a little bit longer though. Right, it's coming up with no signal. Oh my god. Oh my god. Look at it. I've got something. Raspberry Pi 4 Model B. Unbelievable. The colours are absolutely disgusting. I wonder, could that be... No, it's not going to be this. It's going to be... it's going to be this. How good is that? Well, come on. That's quite... Oh, it's just gone off. Oh, that's annoying. I wiggled something. Now, wasn't it lovely to see some sort of Raspberry Pi activity, even if it was via a bright purple screen? So what my thinking now is, rather than using the bench power supply, is there a way that I can find 1 volt on the board somewhere and then connect that wire that I think's feeding the CPU to that 1 volt, and then the board itself can kind of bypass that faulty chip and maybe liven itself up. So let's check out other points on the board for 1 volt. I know it's a complete bodge. It'd just be, I think, a fun way to end the video. And also, it would mean that there'd be a chance of a revisit video, because somebody else might understand where that 1 volt comes from. Or is it just as simple as that? I haven't done that chip properly. It just looks so good. Right, let's see now. So what have we got here at the moment? So we have 0.8 of a volt, but yet it doesn't work on 0.8 of a volt. But yet it works on my bench power supply with 0.9 of a volt. Interesting. How about that? 0.99. I could take it from there maybe. Could maybe take it from here. Now, I know it's probably all the wrong sort of amps that it's going to be able to push out, but the voltage looks about right. So I'm going to solder up the link wire to the other 0.99 of a volt. And that means then the CPU should be getting 0.99 volts. Let's see if it livens up, because it definitely doesn't liven up when it's at 0.8 of a volt. But when we had on the bench power supply 0.9 of a volt, then you see that we did get some sort of purple screen with some sort of activity. So now I solder it up, and now I'm going to show you it on my TV rather than a little monitor, because I'm not 100% sure how reliable that monitor is. I don't use it very often, but I know my TV definitely works. So let me show you this next bit now, where I've got the link wire soldered up and on the TV. Now, I know this is going to sound unbelievable. Look, it's coming up again in perfect colour. So it's, yeah, every single time. Watch this. If I unplug it from here, plug it back in, watch it here, it will do this. Let me just go out a little bit. Hopefully you can see both. It seems to boot up now. Really, really bizarre. So now we've got them in the both are actually booting up. And look here. And interestingly, it does things every now and then. SB2 root hub port 1 in it. Restart. Every now and then it seems to move up and down and do some stuff. And also what I did is I connected USB into here, and we have actually got power, which is miraculous, on all 4 ports. Yeah. And when you go onto this one here, it basically tells you to download software. But look, the timer there is working. So I think the CPU is working. I'd love to know whether it's just the chip that I've done which is faulty. And if it is, I'll happily buy more. I'll buy 10 of them. I don't mind. If we can get it working, if we can get both of them working, they're going to be amazing. Anyway, I'm going to continue on this tomorrow, but it feels good now because I've got both of them to the same level. Right, I've got my USB. I have got my keyboard. This is the Raspberry Pi 4 software, so let's plug it in here. This is Liam's board here, not the one that I broke from eBay. This would be a Christmas miracle if it somehow loads up. It goes. Let's see what you're going to do. So both lights are on. It's flashing. It's gone off. Nothing's coming on here. Ah, okay. I don't think it can read from the SD card. In fact, look, it's doing a sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, okay. So let me look up what 4 flashes and 8 quick flashes are. Just out of interest, is it still booting without the SD card? So it does recognise the SD card. I can get my phone. Trying to boot SDs, come up with a different thing this time. Press and hold Shift key to stop boot and start net install. Trying to boot mode SD. Let's go to diagnostic screen. So is that just because I've got a keyboard plugged in? So it recognises the keyboard. Does it recognise the keyboard? Escape. Problem is I know zero about Raspberry Pi, so I'm battling quite a lot of things here. Let's find out what this 4 flashes means and the 8 quick flashes. Okay, well that's interesting. It is RAM. So basically when it's flashing 8 times like that, it means that the RAM is not working. I've tried it on this other one, the one I got from eBay. It's doing the same problem on both of them. Weirdly, there isn't anything online about 4 flashes, then 8 flashes. But remember, I have messed around with this and run a wire where nobody else would have run. So yeah, but there's 4 flashes there and then 8 quick flashes. And that indicates that it's this RAM here. So what's happened is, on the eBay one, when I've shorted it, I've put 5 volts into this little power controller down here, power management controller, and it must have put the 5 volts into the RAM, which broke it. It's amazing how quick, no smoke, no nothing, just one little tap, goes off, that's it, gone. And I think on Liam's one, I think when he accidentally put too much voltage in, the same thing happened. It went into here and damaged the RAM. So I feel as if we've got a conclusion for the video. So I'm actually quite happy with this video, believe it or not. I'm happy, even though it's a failure video, because I think it was kind of fun to get it to display something. What's interesting is I can get it to display 2 different things. If I don't have this in, or this in, and this is the same on both of them, then it will display that first screen. If I plug in the USB, then it will actually display that second screen. So it's quite interesting that it does recognize the USB, and also when I plug something into here, it will also recognize it. And I can actually charge things from here as well. So it's all, yeah, it's all quite interesting. So the CPU side of it is definitely working okay. It looks like then it is the RAM, or the SD RAM. That's faulty. Now when I plug in the keyboard here, watch this, it will come up with the different screen. And it's the same on both of them. So it's kind of interesting. Ready? And it comes up with that screen there. Okay, I should have walked away from this a long time ago, but I am a glutton for punishment. I should have ended the video right here now, but no, guess what I did? I went and bought some RAM chips from AliExpress, and I went for the 8GB ones because there wasn't much price difference between them, and I got 2 chips, one for each of the board. The failed board from eBay that I broke, and also Liam's board as well. And that way, if I can get them working, at least the 2GB one from eBay has now become 8GB, so it's going to be an upgrade. So I'll pick up this video in 1 month's time when the chips have arrived. Okay, it has been many weeks later, and my RAM chips have arrived from China. So we should have 2 8GB ones here. D9ZCL, and they're reboard, which is the same chip that's on Liam's one, D9ZCL. Right, I am going to try to change out these RAM chips and see if anything else happens. So the RAM chips come off surprisingly easy, and they go on surprisingly easy as well, because compared to the chip we did at the beginning of the video, these balls are absolutely massive, and you can give it a little nudge on the side of the chip to make sure everything has reflowed. I would actually say that these RAM chips seem quite easy to replace compared to that little chip earlier. People might think that that little chip earlier would be easier because it's a lot smaller and there's less balls, but it's not the case. It's the size of it, you see. I think I'm confident that I did do the chip correctly earlier. It's just that you don't really know what's happening in the middle of that chip, and when the balls are so small, it could be possible that one or two of them have shorted together. While with this RAM chip here, the balls are quite spaced out, so I'm really confident that the RAM has been placed on properly. So let's pick up the video when it's all cooled down, cleaned up with isopropyl alcohol, and let's see now if it's going to start working. Right, so they're both done. That one went on better than that one there because I could physically see it move like that nicely, so I know that one's up to temperature. I've unsoldered both of these. To begin with, I'm going to see if it does anything like this. Then if it doesn't, I'll attach that back onto there and then see if it does anything. If it starts working with this on here, then I presume I need to replace these little chips here again. Okay, I am going to do Liam's one first. So now, one second, put the HDMI in and put the power in. Let's see now, is anything going to happen? You going to do anything? Right, it just rebooted there. But nothing's coming up on screen. Ah, nothing's coming up on screen. And we have a red and a green light up here. Just steady. Right, okay, well, nothing's happening on that one. But remember, we might have to put that wire back on. Let's see now, is anything happening on this one? Right, so we just have a red light on that one and nothing's happening on screen. I haven't got a micro SD card in. Right, let me resolder up these wires to where they were before, and then we'll do it again, and this time we'll see whether we have something different on screen before, because remember, it did used to come up on screen before, it just wouldn't go through the RAM stage. Yes. Excellent, it's come up. And it's come up with 8 gigabytes. So it's actually recognised it as 8 gigabytes. Amazing. Look there. So I try connecting it up with the SD card, nothing changes, it still doesn't read from it. And then what I do is I bring my bench power supply back in, I unsolder the wires again, and this time I put in voltage via the bench power supply, because I think the problem here is it's not a good, clean, strong voltage. It's probably not providing enough current, and the Raspberry Pi can't run because I'm trying to just bypass with that little wire. So I do that, but I still can't get it to read from the SD, so I tried doing it via an Ethernet cable. I do get it to go further than it did before, but it's still not working, so yeah, it's time to give up. Let me just show you the end part. Right, it's time to call it a day. I've tried a different power supply. I've tried a power supply from my phone. That will output 2 amps at 5 volts. A lot of people are saying you need 2.5 amps, but this apparently is supposed to do it. Anyway, you can see that we do have a nice display here, and if I was to go to enter, it brings up this one here, and it's trying to boot USB, but I haven't got a USB plugged into it, but I have got my USB plugged in for here, you know, for the keyboard, and it says press hold shift to stop boot and start net install. So I can't get it to work from an SD card. It basically just starts to do it, and then the screen will go blank, and it doesn't matter whether I do the SD card or an Ethernet install. As soon as it downloads the installer, remember the installer's already downloaded the information onto here, that's just the operating system on there, and then basically as soon as the installer is downloaded, that's when it's not happy. So if I was to press and hold shift here now, it will start to do it via the internet. There you go. If not done so already, insert Ethernet cable, waiting for network, and I've got my Ethernet cable plugged in there. You can see lights are flashing, and now it will be downloading the installer, and it does all this. It will go all the way across, and then it will go back to the other screen for a split second. And that's it then. I can't get it to go any further than that. And I've gone all the way on here up to 1.7 volts. Amazingly, it keeps on drawing. It's just that I think it's just getting hotter and hotter. The chips there are getting hotter. So obviously I'm putting too much voltage into the chips. It's not a voltage problem. But yeah, I do believe it's a power problem. There you go. Do you see it went to that? And now it will do no signal. And it will just stay on this forever now. My oh my, that was hard work. 5 days went into the filming of that video there, and I tried to cut it down as much as I could, but there was just so much info to show you the journey that I went through. So apologies for the length, and apologies to show you a failure at the end. I now believe from the very beginning that Liam's one was unfixable, because I'm thinking that the CPU's blown, because if this wire goes toward the caps under the CPU, I think when the chip failed, that what it did is it shot 5 volts through into the CPU. But obviously, if I'm incorrect, please put it down in the comment section below. I don't believe there was anything wrong with the original RAM chip, so I've kept them because they might come in useful for another Raspberry Pi down the line somewhere. So I thought it was interesting that we at least managed to get it to display something by using this little bypass wire. But apart from that, we're not really any bit more knowledgeable at the end of the video than we were before, which is a shame. But at least if we look at the positives, and I'm just grasping onto any tiny little bit of positive, it's at least we got the Raspberry Pi 3 working again, and it's quite easy to change those little SD cards out, and it means then worldwide there's probably quite a few of them that are broken because they're a little bit vulnerable there, and at least people know now that they can be changed out relatively easy and relatively cheaply as well. So that is it for this video. A massive thank you to Liam for sending them over to me. Apologies that I couldn't have a more successful outcome, but I did try my very best. Hopefully in the next video we will be more successful. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you all very soon. Thank you so much for watching.